So medicine is often viewed through the lens of precision and technique, but behind every scalpel lies a story of perseverance, compassion, and transformation. The journey to heal others isn't just about treating injuries, it's about finding purpose in the process, embracing innovation, and demonstrating resilience in the face of challenges. Today we're exploring the profound intersection of science and humanity in the field of orthopedic surgery. This episode dives into the personal and professional milestones that shapes a surgeon's path, from the triumphs to the trials, and the innovation that's revolutionizing patient care. Today we're honored to welcome Dr. Nwannunu, a fellowship-trained orthopedic surgeon specializing in adult reconstruction and total joint replacement. A true innovator in his field, Dr. Nwannunu blends surgical precision with a deep commitment to patient care, transforming countless lives through his expertise. A graduate of Morehouse College, he pursued advanced studies at Georgetown and earned his medical degree from Howard University. His training includes a rigorous residency at John Peter Smith Health Network and a distinguished fellowship from Baylor College of Medicine. Beyond the aura, his dedication to global health took him to Guatemala, providing care for the underdeserved communities. Affiliated with leading medical institutions, Dr. Nwannunu is an active member of numerous professional organizations, and when he's not in surgery, he enjoys playing basketball, weight training, art, music, and travel. Beyond his extraordinary career, Dr. Nwannunu embodies resilience, purpose, and the commitment to making healthcare a truly human experience. Today, we dive into his inspiring journey to becoming a surgeon, from his educational roots to his world-class expertise, uncovering his lessons, resilience, challenges, triumph, and transformative moments that have defined his paths, inspired countless others to reach for their greatness, and shaped the humanity that defines his practice. Get ready for an insightful conversation with the one and only Dr. Nwannunu. What's going on, Doc?
I appreciate that.
You know,
Man, that was nice.
Yes, sir. Do the research, and we have to really, people that are doing things like you're doing, great things, and doing it at the level you're doing it, from my perspective, deserve to be recognized. And it was, when it came to my mind to reach out to you, there was no hesitation. You know what I mean? So let's kind of start off for the audience members who may not be familiar with what orthopedic surgery is. If you can kind of give us an overview from your perspective of what that is.
Well, that's a great question. I mean, I actually get it often, and most people, for whatever reason, think orthopedics is only feet.
Yeah.
Orthopedic surgery is the entire musculoskeletal system. So we diagnose, we treat, we operate on the entire musculoskeletal system. That includes the spine, that includes your joints, your hips, your knees, your shoulders, that includes your extremities, the hands, the feet. Now, most orthopedic surgeons at this point subspecialize in some type of area. I do the hips and the knees, and with my trauma call, do extremities, bones, fractures, things like that. But it's not just the feet. Okay. So it is all the bones, the muscles, the ligaments, the sports injuries, the ACLs, the rotator cuffs, spine surgeries, the whole nine. So.
Okay. Well, yeah, see, that's, even for me, that gives me more of a high level, overview of that, because when I think of orthopedic, I think of knees, and knees only, right? At least from my perspective. But, and I know surgery is not something that's easy. What drove you into the path of orthopedic medicine, or just medicine in general?
It's really God. Just to, we'll start there, and my family can attest to this. 4 years old, I told my mom, my dad, my older brother, my little brother, I'm gonna be a doctor. 4 years old. How I knew what that was, how I came up with that idea, it was implanted into my head.
So it wasn't forced on you?
It wasn't forced upon me.
That is interesting. I don't normally hear that.
Exactly. And it was from that time on, everything was just geared towards helping foster that desire.
Okay.
I had little baby, toy kits with stethoscopes and with, thermometers. I'm going around taking everyone's blood pressure and temperature when I'm in elementary.
Yeah.
There's a community college called Richland Community College in Dallas, where I grew up next to. My parents put me in some community college program. I'm dissecting frogs and pigs, literally in elementary.
Early.
Early.
Okay.
And I loved all of it. I love the anatomy, I love the science, I love the ability just to help people. And, and one thing that was unique, I think, to it was anytime I told, a friend, a family member, a cousin, an uncle, or aunt, I want to be a doctor, their eyes lit up. And I was like, there's something to this.
Yeah.
And so I just, from then on, it was history.
Hold on, because that's a completely different story that I normally heard. My background is, it was something that my parents kind of said, this is the only path for you to be successful. But what I'm hearing is, for you, that was kind of self-motivated from an early age. And then as you started, what would you say kept you going?
Well, one, it was the constant support from the family, know, and like you said, we're both, from Nigerian backgrounds, and it's like, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, engineer, so it was like, when you tell people without them telling you want to be a doctor, you automatically get support.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that, and I needed that. Two, I saw other doctors in my family, right? We're blessed enough to see, uncles and older cousins and other people who are doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
So that feat is attainable.
Yeah.
It's tough when you've never seen that, and there's a lot of times where somebody will come up to me and say, you're the first black doctor I've ever seen, little young black girl, young black boy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, of course, for someone like that, it's probably impossible for them to think they could be a physician, even though they still can. But we were blessed enough to have that in the family, in our immediate family, and to understand that it was attainable.
Okay. So, because I've always learned, and I've always at least assumed that when you're exposed to something, there still has to be a driving force from inside of you, right? It's just the exposure to it. Like I knew doctors growing up, right? And I'll be honest with you, I actually try to go into the, be the whole, what is it, pre-med? Yeah. And then I changed my major. That's a different conversation, but it's just, I want to bring it back a little bit. So, orthopedic surgery, self-motivated, family support, right? When you're going through all that, right? How does your friends fit into that? Because you said family.
It's true. Well, my friends fit into it because I played sports all my life. I'm an athlete. And played at what I considered a high level in high school, and and even a little bit of dabbled in college, right? And my best friends were typically my teammates, and they all called me Doc, because they knew I wanted to be a physician. And I'll never forget, actually the last game of my senior year in varsity at Bryan Adams, the other players, it's senior night, everyone's figuring out what they can do for the rest of their life. And they were like, you're about to go be a surgeon. You're going to be a doctor. So that supporting from my friends, my teammates, which were like family, you understand, sports is like family. That was the same support I needed and encouragement. So, it was just, everybody was just on my side, So it was cool.
Your story is smooth.
Yeah.
So far it's smooth. So in medicine, I think it's important to the precision, the surgical experience that, you're an expert in that realm. How do you balance that and being empathetic with patients, right? Because we're dealing with human beings here, right? What is that? And then what do you do, right? Because you got to make sure that you're good to be able to do that for other people.
Well, I'm really a people person. I love energy, which is why, we've connected from day one, the energy you possess, that positivity, that light that you had, even when I see you around, I'm like, I like that, you can't deny that, that energy is just it's a wavelength, that we just can't really put our finger on, but that's how I am with my patients, I can walk into a room, somebody's down, somebody's up, somebody's sad, somebody's hurt, and I take that on. I'm a real empath. I feel all of it. And so for me, I don't just walk in there kind of like this overarching, dictator that's going to come in and do your surgery. I get to your level. I understand what is it that you need. What do you expect from me?
Yeah.
How can I help demystify this? And we go from there. I had a really, really, really touching experience with a former friend whose mother was in the ICU. And we stayed with her in the ICU for a week.
Wow.
And I got to see, and this is while I'm already in my training. So I'm in residency at this time. I've already graduated medical school, just kind of fast forwarding. But
Yeah.
I got to see just from the family standpoint, how everyone's kind of, they have questions. They don't know what's going on. They're scared. They're out of the loop. They're waiting every 8 hours or 10 hours or every day for another update from the doctors. And it was really touching.
Yeah.
It let me know that there's so many different people being affected by this one person that you're treating. And so I took that to now in my practice, I'm very approachable. I give my phone number out sometimes. I talk to all the people in the room, whoever it is. I ask her, if you have any questions. I don't just come in, say 2 words and walk out.
That's right.
And everything within means, right? If I have 100 patients to see today, of course, I got to keep it moving. But
That's right.
It's taught me that, everyone really has a voice and deserves to be heard. You know? And there's certain people, of course, they're kind of the leaders of the family, so you direct certain things to them so they can disseminate the information. But somebody needs to be touched so that they can let everybody know what's going on. And I think that experience helped me to see it from the other side.
Yeah. And how do you balance, so your personal life, how do you balance being a surgeon with your personal life? Because I know your schedule is chaotic, which appreciate you for being here to have this conversation.
I literally did surgery just before coming here today. I love surgery. I can actually say that. I love what I do. I love the hospital. It's peaceful. It's chaotic, but it's organized chaos. The OR and my OR is very, very chill. We play good music. We're all focused. Everyone's on the same page. There's not a lot of yelling going on, so it's a very peaceful place for me.
Yeah.
I say that to be said that you're not going to have much balance, in certain aspects of your life at certain times. I am new in my practice, finished training about 4 years ago, so I'm what we call an early to mid surgeon. So I'm still growing it. I'm still fostering. I'm still trying to make it perfect. But I even listened to an interview by President Obama not too long ago, and he said, when you have to be great at something, it will take imbalance, right? It will take a constant focus, a constant, neurotic, want to be better, a constant, dedication to attention. And certain things do, unfortunately, have to take a back seat.
Yeah.
And that may include your personal life, may include traveling, may include fun. Of course, you want to take care of what needs to be taken care of, home, kids, family, etc. But if I can't make it to somebody's destination wedding in Italy because I got to operate, well, so be it. This is what I chose. This is what I dedicated my life to. My patients are important to me. I think about them every day. So there is a sacrifice that you do have to give if you want to be great. And you see it in all the greats, right? You see it in, rest in peace, the mama, Kobe Bryant, right? You see it in, the sports athletes. You see it in, politicians and lawyers and Denzel. You see it in the people who are, who in whatever field of life they are. And if they're really great, they put their all into it. And the same thing comes with medicine. So
I like that because I agree with that 1,000%. So the thing is, we always hear people talk about, I want to be great at this. Now, like when you get in the trenches of what that looks like day to day, a lot of people quit.
Yeah.
So for you, did you have any of those moments where you were like, you had a thought like, maybe this is not for me. Maybe I should look at doing something else?
I never quit anything. And it's just, it's maybe it's an ego thing, but I will never quit anything. Whether it's a bad job, whether it's a bad, sports team playing back in the YMCA and losing every single game, I'm gonna continue it until it's complete. At the completion, I then make the decision to renew, to continue, or to pivot. But I will never quit something I started because I will never start something that I did not put full energy, research, effort into starting. So I've never personally had that. Now there are times where it's difficult.
Yeah.
And I know this is a difficult season, and I will seek out advice. I will seek out, different, avenues to help get through that season, but never once did I think to quit.
Really?
And there's been times too, by the way, I didn't get in med school the first time I applied. Didn't get in med school the second time I applied.
Okay.
That's the reason I have Georgetown on there. Now, Georgetown sounds good. It's a master's, it's great.
Yeah.
But doctors that get masters, and y'all know, we did it because we didn't get in med school the first time, right?
Yeah.
It still kept us engaged. We still were in our field as far as, in academia. The master's was in physiology. I was doing anatomy and biochemistry and all the good stuff. So I'm still learning.
Yeah.
But I'm still actively applying for med school. And even with that, I wasn't like, oh, it's not meant for me. Like, no.
Really, in those seasons of applying the first time, getting denied, second time getting denied, so it's that mentality, and I agree with that, because for me doesn't matter what it is. If I say this is what I'm going to do, but I got to this mentality later in life. Like for you, it probably came earlier, right? But for me, it was like a later development, right? To get to a point to understand that as long as you pick something and then you keep at it, I don't even believe in the idea of failing at anything. I believe everything is an experience. You do it and you see, okay, you learn something from it, you pivot. You do it, same thing until you get, and then the thing is, life is, to me, there's no like top. Right? Like I make $10 million, you make $10 million, you're gonna want 20. You make 100, you're gonna go 2. So, and then it's gonna keep growing, right? So that doesn't do it for me. Yeah. Like think about the most wealthiest people that's changing every day, moment to moment. There's no real accurate way to predict who has what. That's true. So it's all a guess at the end of the day, from my perspective at least. But it's just like, so what for you, like what is the meaning of life? Like, what drives you every day?
Honestly, just making an impact.
Yeah.
Is leaving something better than it was before I got there.
Yeah.
And I found that can instantly be done with surgery, especially orthopedic surgery. And that instant gratification, like with anybody else, is what I wanted. And that's what it gave. Yeah, exactly. See somebody with arthritis, replace that knee. See somebody literally, unfortunately this morning with a bad car accident or motorcycle accident, fix those bones that are just flopping around, and that instant gratification, and to see that patient then come out of surgery, say, doctor, I feel great. I mean, you just see their eyes, and again, that's that energy that I get that refills me every time to go do it again.
Bro, that's the reason. That's powerful. No, I'm telling you right now, because I think because we live in a world of Instagram, we're in a microwave world. So doing something like that, especially when it's tied directly, the most important thing we have is our health, right? So you're impacting someone's health, right? Pretty much in a few hours, I can see how that can I want more.
Want more, yeah.
Yeah,
and it's a positive thing, you know? So it's like it's a positive, just endorphin, just salad, So that's really where I've learned and fallen in love with the field.
Yeah. And so, because I'm thinking through, there's a lot going on in my mind. I'm trying to break it down, because you touched on making an impact. What does that look like for you? Because I know you've done a lot of trying to help a lot of poverty-stricken communities, Guatemala, we touched on in the intro. How do you, the younger generation, these kids that want to be surgeons, they come to Dr. Nwannunu. What do you tell them? How do you direct them? How do you help them say, stick to this and you'll be able to achieve it? Because Brian, I'm telling you right now, not everybody is going to, at 4 years old, know. True. Right? So how do you advise someone that's coming to you? I have a 4-year-old son, Caleb. Yeah. I have a 2-year-old boy. And then I just had a daughter, Cara. She's 6 months. You know what I mean? So 3 kids. I'm trying to do things differently. So I'm trying to unlearn a lot of conditioning that I grew up with, right? So I really want them, first and foremost, give them the skills to be able to articulate themselves. So handle themselves in any room. And then when it comes to picking a career, I don't want to say, be this, because I think for me, it was more of a financial gain, right? That you say, if I'm this, and then of course, the respect that comes with it, in our community. If you do this, you're going to have this and get this, and you're never going to, I don't want to do that. I want to take a different approach. A young kid comes to you and say, Dr. Nwannunu, I want to do this, but I don't even know what to do, where to start, or like, you know, what do you do in those moments?
First question I ask them is, do you want to do it?
Yeah.
Or does somebody want you to do it? Because those are two different things. And if they want to do it, then I tell them, then no one can stop you besides you. You're the only one that can take away your absolute desires and goals. There may be people that try
Say it
to.
again.
You're literally the only one that can take away your desires and goals. People may try to maneuver. People may try to put a little roadblock. People may try to detour. But you are the one that are responsible for finding, troubleshooting, critical thinking, and getting around them and still getting to where you need to be.
Yeah.
But it starts with, do you want to do it? And that's what I would ask them. You know,
Yeah.
If you do, well then, hey, we got a lot of resources for you.
That is a great question to start with. And the thing is, to that point is, I'm trying to really, like, when somebody presents an idea to me, I always ask, is it their beliefs or is it my belief? Yeah. Like, what do I, and then if I'm going through something, I always ask myself, where did I get this from? Right? Because there's a lot of things that I was taught, right? Which is all with good intention. I don't blame people that, like my parents or anyone that's poured into my life, because they only taught me from the lens of what they knew. So who am I to try to blame them for that? So I say thank you. So I've gone through a lot of like unlearning, trying to really figure out, what do I believe? What do I want to do? Like today, I live the best life, the life that I literally prayed for, I'm living today. And people will ask me, when you say that, people think automatically from a financial perspective. Well, that's the world that we live in, which is fine. It's not a big deal, but it's not that. It's just, I remember when I would ask God, I said I wanted a son. And I would pray about that. And I got that. Yeah. And I said I wanted a beautiful wife that's brilliant, that will support me in anything that I did. I made that happen. You know, that's a different. You know, yep. So the thing is, but it ties to the point you made is, I said those things, and they were my beliefs, and then because they were my beliefs, I went after them, yeah. And now I got them at all costs, and that's a great starting point, and I love that, because if a kid comes to me and say, I want to do what you do, Christian, I'm going to say, do you really want to do that? Or are you doing that because mom and dad or uncle said you should do that, right? So,
or you saw it on TV, or you saw it on social media, you think it's cool, like, no, it's not cool. Do you want to do that?
That's right. And I notice a lot of people like want to go into surgery. What is that about in medicine? And don't you, like with med school, once you graduate med school, don't you like, how does that work when you choose a specific specialty?
So great question. So you go through med school. Everyone goes through their 4 years of med school.
Okay.
You have to then graduate, and then you get your MD or your DO. You get your medical degree.
Okay.
At the last year, your 4th year, you're applying for residency. So you're deciding on what subspecialty in medicine, what field do I want to go to. And before that, you've done, rotations. We rotate, some schools are starting in their 2nd year, 2nd and 3rd year. You rotate to different various departments, internal medicine, OBGYN, surgery, family medicine, et cetera, right? If most surgeons kind of come in knowing they want to do surgery, not all. Yeah. Some go on their surgical rotation and they love it. Surgical rotations are usually the harder rotations because you're waking up early, you're working long shifts. Everyone's not the friendliest. Yeah. So some people are turned off by the environment if they didn't know they wanted to go in surgery. Yeah. For most of us, though, that already knew we wanted to go into surgery and are kind of deciding what field of surgery, we know what to expect. We already are expecting to be up early, taking call, working weekends, staying up overnight, dealing with maybe grumpy surgeons, et cetera. Yeah. And that's where some people make their decisions. Okay. But once you make your decision, 4th year is when you then go on rotations. So you go to rotations either at your home hospital or different various hospitals. I went to Howard for med school, so I rotated there at Howard, but then I knew I wanted to come back to Texas where my family was, so then I came and rotated back here in Dallas and in Houston, et cetera. Okay. So you do your rotations and then you officially apply. Once you apply, you go through your different interviews for the whatever field you applied for, then there's this match. And the match is the craziest.
Yeah.
Where you rank the programs you wanted to go, and the programs rank you, and you only match if the programs that ranked you are on the programs you ranked, and they come together.
Wow.
You don't know where you're going to be until that match day, which is why match day is such a big day.
Okay.
I mean, it's life-changing.
I always see people do that match day. I match this, man. Yeah. I had no clue what it was about.
It's life-changing. I mean, it can. I've seen, husband and wife match different places across the nation.
And they have to split.
And they have to split. Or your significant other, lives there, and you got a couple kids, and you're your husband, but now you matched, in a whole other state, and and you have to leave. So it can be great where people are matching and they're happy because they got into their field that they love, but they're also sad because they're gonna have to be away from their family.
That's right.
Or some people don't match at all.
Ooh.
And
so what happens if you don't match?
So the first thing that happens is you try to scramble. You try to find a program that didn't match a resident either. And some programs are like that. They're smaller or they're not as well known, so no one matched there. Okay. So try to call around and find those programs and then try to scramble into those programs. If you don't, most people either take the year off, do research. Some people end up never practicing medicine. They went through 4 years, they got their medical degree, they're a doctor, but they don't practice.
Because they didn't match the first time, they just quit?
They just quit, yeah.
What does what does that tell you? Like, maybe they never really wanted to do it?
Perhaps.
Because if you quit, if you didn't match the first time, and you're like, okay, this is not for me, then you never really wanted to be in medicine.
It's a couple things. It's one, you either probably didn't want to be in medicine.
Okay.
But I think it's more so that if you don't match in the specialty you wanted to go into, right? Like I wanted to go orthopedics and nothing less than that, right?
Yeah.
Let's say, God forbid, I didn't match, which I did, but if I didn't, and the only thing that was open was, I don't know, family medicine.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a family medicine doctor.
Nothing
against family medicine doctor. But, I like to operate. I like to, be in the OR. I like the tangible. I like to see the immediate gratification. Like that's just my personality. That's my energy. So, it would be a tough choice to say, for the rest of your life, do this. We'll go do something else. Hey, I'm trying to say.
No, it's true.
I love all my family medicine doctors.
Yeah,
y'all know I love y'all, but I couldn't do it. And vice versa, right? A family medicine doctor had to match into OBGYN. Okay. They're like, I didn't want to do surgery. There's some doctors that are not happy with blood, right? They're still humans, right? Like, what? This is the only thing I have to do. I'm not going to do it. Yeah. Right. So it still boils down to what did you want to do? But the goal is just not to get to that point. Yeah. Not to get to that point. I empathize with everybody that's that has to deal with that. But and there's some that persevere and they keep on going and they reapply and they reapply and they reapply and they match, and and it's amazing. Yeah.
I want to talk about next, if you can think of any a pivotal moment that happened for you on this journey. You were like, I know I made the right decision. I think it's coming to you, right? Like I knew I made the right decision because I can tell. Like I've been in a room with a lot of spine surgeons, and I can tell you love what you do. Yeah. Like you just have a different energy about you. There's a calmness, right? And I can see why your patients are real comfortable. Like I was just the other day watching the people that you make happy online. I'm like, there's a reason why those patients say that. Because if you watch some testimonials, it's not the same. They almost feel like scripted, but when you watch, I saw there's this lady I saw, and it's just like, she looks so happy. Like she looks so free, right? And there's a difference from what you've seen. Let's talk about that pivotal moment if you have one, if you can think of one that he's like, this is it.
Well, the pivotal moment that I knew that surgery, because again, I wanted to do it, but I knew that it was for me. Yeah. Would have to go back to the first year of medical school. First year of medical school, you do your basic science, your biology, your biochemistry, all that fun stuff, right?
Not fun because I didn't like it. I tried.
And then you also have the anatomy lab. Yeah. Right? The anatomy lab is literally cadavers. What is a cadaver? It's a dead person. Okay. Right? So you're in a room full of dead people.
So you're practicing with real dead people?
Real dead people.
Oh, in school?
In school.
Okay.
This is first year medical school. Every medical school has the first years that go through the anatomy.
Okay.
Certain people don't like that, right? You know, I mean, again, they didn't want to go into surgery. They don't, you know, they don't want to deal with dead people. And it is a visceral moment. You know, you kind of remember, you walk in there, there's a smell, you know, it's the embalming fluid, there's like the formaldehyde, you know, it's cold, you know, like you just, it's very, very, very surreal.
Yeah.
You know, and for us, and I don't know how other schools do it, you know, we had our cadaver's name, you know, and we knew who he was. And before we even started, you know, our Dr. Aziz was my anatomy professor. We thanked the cadaver, you know, for giving us this opportunity. The dead person, yeah, okay. to learn and to teach and to grow and to, you know, be able to take these skills to help people.
Okay.
And that meant a lot to me, you know. And then I was really good in anatomy. I mean, we literally would, you know, for exams, they would choose different structures, nerves, muscles, bones, you know, out of different bodies. And you were tested on, you know, writing it down. There's no multiple choice, nothing's free-handed, you know, just open response.
Spell some of those long, crazy words.
Exactly, you know. And there's 60 different bodies, you know, you have to know. And one of them I got 100 on. I mean, perfect.
First year?
Yeah, first year. You know, first year, first semester. And it was then that I knew, like, this is for me, you know? And then fast forward, of course, you know, you go through school and I did pretty well and you match in orthopedics. And then on my joints rotation, I'm a hip and knee replacement, you know, specialist. I replaced this, you know, young lady's hip.
Yeah.
She was limping, and she was no longer limping, and she gave me the biggest hug, you know, almost to tears. Yeah. And I was like, wow, you know, like we really directly changed her life. Yeah. You know, and at that point I was like, yeah, there's no
That's it. Bro, because I agree with, like, impacting people's lives, like making them feel good, like there's no better feeling. Doing something for someone and just putting a smile on their face, I agree 1,000%. And then you're doing it with health, which to me is the most important thing.
There's health as well.
But what else can you do? There's nothing more.
Nothing more than that.
Like the surgeons that I've interacted with, I've always wondered, like, because success is such a vague word, but you know, the world tries to create like a general definition, but when you hear it, what do you think about? What do you think people think about when they hear success?
Of course, they think about money.
Yeah.
You know, they think about money for sure. And I mean, every orthopedic surgeon makes money. So that really, I don't think that's what we would consider successful. There are some that make more money than others, but everyone makes money. Everyone's gonna have a house, everyone's gonna have their cars, everyone's kids are gonna be taken care of, everyone's parents are not, you know, gonna suffer, you know, like, so that's already there. What would I consider as successful in orthopedics? Mm-hmm. Me personally, is helping change other people's practices. Finding something that is so overwhelmingly better in outcomes for the patient that other people have to change that. And that usually comes from either, you know, doing a whole bunch of surgeries and finding out which ones do better, what type of implants are better, what type of approach is better. It could be on the research side. I'm not working with a big academic center, so I'm not doing a lot of research. But for me, success is like changing the dogma. The stuff that used to be done, that was the old school way, that's no longer working, making it better. Yeah. And that's something I want to do. I think we can, you know, especially with the knee replacements, the hip replacements. Like there's 20% of people that just, you know, they're fine, but they could be better. Yeah. And it's trying to figure that out, which is why I'm really big on technology and robots and things like that. You know, we're still millennials, so we like that versus some of my older, you know, colleagues. They don't use any technology, any robots. At the same time, if they've done thousands of them, they're kind of their own robot, you know? Yeah, sure. But I like to use the analogy of, you know, we're Nigerian, you know, my dad was a cab driver, you know, before he finished school and became a nurse. He knew every single road off the back of his hand, right? No maps at all.
Yeah.
Because he's a cab driver, right? You know, you've done it, you've driven everyone around, you know, it's not a problem, you know, but fast forward, if I get GPS, I know just as much as you know. And I can, with the GPS, predict an accident and detour. You know the way to get there from point A to point B because you've done it so many times, but you may not get there faster than I did because I had that GPS. And that's the piece of technology that some of the older surgeons haven't adopted yet, that some of us newer surgeons have, that I feel like one can bring us up to speed. You know, I don't have 30 years of experience under my belt, but now I got this technology and can even probably pass it because then I can anticipate roadblocks that we can get around for the patient that you don't have to worry about. And so that's one of the things I've adopted. But I think for me, really, like I said, just going back to it, success is really being able to change the field for the better.
Yeah. What's your approach in staying on the forefront of some of that advancements you just talked about with technology?
Well, one, I go to conferences all the time. I mean, I go to conferences in other literally continents. I was in London in October.
Nice.
And I try to see what they're doing in other places. You know, what are they doing in Europe? What are they doing in Asia? What are they doing in Africa? You know, like what are we doing in South America? Because just because we do it here in the United States, which is still at the forefront because we just have the funds and the resources, but there's other places that are doing things that we're not doing and they're getting just as good outcomes, if not better. And so I like to go to other places, other conferences, and just hear them talk about what they're doing.
Exposure, yeah. You're not just like, my way is the only way, and then the US way is the only way. You're going global. Yeah. You travel all over the place, and I think that's important, man. I really believe exposure to other cultures is so important when it comes to any career path, if you ask me, most importantly medicine. But yeah, that's great that you're doing that. But then I think about the future of medicine, right? With the approach of some of the things that you're seeing. Where do you think medicine is headed, just the future of it overall?
You know, artificial intelligence is going to be really big.
Yeah.
It's going to be really, really big. You know, it's scary because there's a lot of unknowns and you know there's a lot of things that you just have to trust and rely on, but there are benefits to it. I think it can make things more efficient. It can bring up the, you know, equal playing field. For example, there's an artificial intelligence, you know, tool that's supposed to come in that allows people in like the middle of nowhere, rural Texas, you know, or Nebraska or Arkansas to understand what are the different options I'm needing for this patient. Let me tap into this AI tool and see what they're doing in the Mayo Clinic and see what they're doing in Harvard, where I get to see exactly what the Harvard guys, the Mayo Clinic guys, the NYU guys, the Stanford guys are doing and give that same practice to my patient, that same medication, that same treatment. And that's the type of things that AI is trying to do.
Yeah.
Where you just input these symptoms, this patient's demographics, what you've done so far, and they say, well, this is what Harvard's doing with that same type of patient.
Yeah.
That's the type of things that I think can make it much better because it'll equal the playing field.
That's right.
So where you're not just in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and you just kind of are beholden to what this guy does or doesn't do, but you're really getting evidence-based treatment from the best.
Instead of flipping a coin and saying,
Exactly.
I got you. So like currently, do you utilize any artificial intelligence?
I don't right now because
practice?
a lot of it it's not FDA approved. A lot of it is still in the trial phases. We're hearing about a lot of it. I'm hearing about a lot of it at conferences and things like that. It's all in its like basic level stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing right now has been generalizable yet. So so I'm not personally using it. A lot of people are trialing it out, but I'm not. But I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah. Because you know, I hear everything artificial intelligence, this, that. So times are changing. Yeah. With you know, you talked about the robots, the new technology. How does your patient? Do you tell them that before surgery that I'm going to be utilizing this type of robotics on your surgery?
I tell them 100% of the time. And there's some certain patients that are actually, you know, researching and want the robot.
Really?
They come in asking for the robot.
So they're trusting that. Oh.
And again, the robot, and I tell everyone, is not driving the car. It's not the Tesla autopilot.
Yeah.
It's navigation.
Yeah.
I still got the wheels. I still
Okay.
got the brakes. I still got the acceleration.
Yeah.
I still do everything. It's just telling me this is where I want to go. And then if I'm deviating from it, don't do that. But I'm still the one that's controlling everything.
So it keeps you.
Yeah, keeps me away from harm.
That's genius.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you want to implement something like that?
And now there are, like with any technology, there's times when the robot either, freezes up or, just doesn't look right, or it's not calibrated appropriately. And that's when I still got to fly the plane. I still got to be the surgeon, that's you got to. So if something doesn't look right, I'm just like, nah, we're just let's abort.
So you still got to make that judgment. No, that's a great point, because I'm thinking, okay, it's a robot. Of course, it does what it does, and keeps you away from harm. But it's like you're still thinking for yourself and for the robot. Exactly. So you're able to capture moments that it tries to be like, no, I need to stay here, right? And you keep all that in control. Yeah. Dude, what you do is not easy.
Yeah, it's a lot of you're laser focused from time you get in until that last stitch.
So so let me ask you this: what do you do to keep yourself with the level of mental clarity and focus? And I'm saying consistently. You did surgery 2 hours before you came in for this conversation, right? So you're ready. Somebody's hurt. Like, how do you keep yourself just ready?
So that's where the residency training comes into play.
Yeah.
Now, residency is torture. It's grueling. It's arduous. There's long hours. It's mentally, physically, emotionally draining and just tries you.
Yeah.
And it breaks some people. There's some people that even after medical school, even after matching, even after doing all of that, get into residency and still do not complete it because it's too tough for them. But what residency does is it forms these memories. It forms this muscle memory of certain aspects and certain treatments and certain approaches for me as a surgeon that you just can't forget. There's actually a small part of the brain called the amygdala that I like to mention. It's about the size and the shape of an almond, right?
Yeah.
One of the important functions of the amygdala is to help forming memory, but specifically forming memory with an emotional attachment. And that's what residency is, right? Like you go in and you do a surgery, you see a complication, you see something go on, you see something, you don't forget that. It's like, back in the day, when you did something and you probably, got disciplined by your parents all the time, but there's 1 or 2 times you just remember, my mom or dad saw red. We all remember that one time, like, man, and you remember what you did. That's the amygdala that has caused you to have that memory stuck because of the emotion that was in that particular situation.
It wasn't the big stick that went across.
It was remember how crazy it was,
yeah,
and what you did to make her that crazy. And it wasn't because you got a spanking, it wasn't because you got discipline, but it was like, she's doing more than normal right now.
Yeah,
and it's because I did something that was abnormal. But same thing happens with surgery, right? Or with training and residency. It's so rigorous, it's so grueling. You remember these nights, these long 36-hour shifts, these times where you didn't sleep, you didn't eat, you didn't go to the restroom, and you had to take care of this patient for hours. And when you go and see another thing with the same injury, it's back.
Yeah.
Like it's back. It doesn't go away. Yeah. So the same thing. I don't, I prepare for every surgery as far as I look at the x-rays, I make sure the implants are correct, look at the fracture morphology, the everything I need to know about it, but I can do any surgery that I've done before without having to read up again the 100-step process because it's stuck in my brain.
Yeah, so when you get like a new iteration of like a completely different surgery, now you got to go back and kind of study that a little bit.
Yeah, if it's something you haven't done in a while, then you do need to refresh it.
Okay.
Which is why, a lot of us now are just subspecializing in what we do. So instead of just being a general guy, like if I haven't done specifically a rotator cuff repair in forever, I'm not going to go and do that on my mom's friend tomorrow. So I would just go and give it to someone that's done tons of them. And if that person has done a knee replacement, I would hope he's not just going to go and just, oh, I haven't done this in 3 years. Let me do it today. Bring it to me. You know, when I do hundreds of them, you know, so there's certain things you don't do, but most of it's, you know, pretty bread and butter. So you remember, you do it often.
Yeah. How do you, because there was a conversation we were having offline, you were just willing to refer something you weren't good at so easily. Like you're ready, like you just know, versus letting the ego come into play and like, oh, I can figure that out. Like
everyone's not the same.
Yeah.
You know, some people will just do everything and you know, be a master of none.
Yeah.
My mentality personally is not to shoot a shot until I make it, but it's to shoot a shot until I can't miss it. So I want to do something that I can do perfectly every single time.
Yeah.
Reproducibly. Know what to expect. Know how to get out of the issues. Know what to tell the patient, you know, every single time. And if it isn't something I haven't done multiple times, like I haven't done a bunion since 2018, I'm not gonna go do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it to somebody that has done it multiple times. And I think what it does, one, it shows that you care about this patient because you want them to get the best care. And two, you also care about, you know, your craft. You know, like I wanna be able to tell someone like, trust me, I'm gonna make it better.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we don't see a lot of like physicians operate the way you operate. Has there been like a crazy surgery moment?
I mean, there's been so many.
Okay.
Yeah, there's been so many. I mean, nothing is really, you know, crazy anymore, right? I mean, patients code, you know, which means their heart stops and I have to stop surgery and start CPR. A lot of times those are my trauma patients. So, you know, in addition to my elective practice, I do trauma call where, you know, car accidents, falls, people, gunshot wounds, etc. Actually, you know, I guess one of the crazy ones was the Allen shooting. I was a surgeon on call that day and had 7 of them coming to my OR. And that was crazy, you know, because I've never seen the destruction of a gun, you know, like that. And like, I mean, I'm talking about the bones looked like little pebbles.
Like just shattered.
Yeah, multiple bones.
Yeah.
You know? So, you know, which is interesting because like the patients that you don't hear about are the ones that passed away, unfortunately. The ones that, you know, or rather, let me say that opposite. You hear about the ones that passed away.
You don't hear about
you know, the 7 casualties, the 8 casualties, whatever it is. You don't hear about the ones that are, I mean, forever disfigured. Forever, they're alive.
Yeah.
Their heart's beating. Their brain works. Their lungs work. But I mean, their limbs, whatever else, is just, I mean, it's just nothing. You know, I mean, so and that's the ones that we get, the alive ones. You know, so that's probably some of the crazier surgeries for me. Is just the ones where it's just like, man, this is a terrible situation. You know, you do your best to just, you know, piece them together as best you can.
What personal habits, like you talked about residency and how rigorous that was, what personal habits would you say helped you navigate just the complexities of that?
I'm definitely a guy of routine. So I have my routine in the morning, you know, from the supplements I take to do my morning devotional, to listen to my podcast, to my working out in the evenings, to even how I attack my emails, you know, my notes. Like I have a routine. And if you stick to that routine, then you don't miss anything.
Yeah.
I'm a proponent for to-do lists. Write down everything.
Yeah.
Just to make sure you don't miss anything. And then a reminder on top of that. I set multiple alarms. So if I need to be somewhere at 6, I set an alarm at 4:45, an alarm at 5:15, an alarm at 5:30. So that there's always a reminder, no matter if I get sidetracked or if I get, you know, distracted or anything else, I'm always there. So I like the redundancy. I think that's a routine that I do. Is something has to continually remind me and keep me on, so I don't drop the ball somewhere.
Did you always have that, or did you develop that over time?
No, you get that over time. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, because you know you don't really need that in high school, right? And then college comes, and college, you know, for some of us is, you know, wasn't too bad. But then med school comes, and you get kind of hit with the rude awakening. But really, it was residency. You know, it was residency. It was having to be at places where no one else was going to be there besides you. And everything fell on your shoulders. So you had to step up to the plate. Yeah.
Bro, y'all can tell you've built some resilience, and I just listening to your story, listening to some of the things that you've been through, I think people getting exposed to you right, is going to show like there's someone like this that's doing it at a high level. This is some of the things that he's gone through to build this. Man, because I wish, I can't change the world. And, why we started the podcast was really to share perspective, and hopefully one person can hear a story from Dr. Nwannunu and say, maybe they're on the verge of quitting.
Yeah.
And they hear that you never quit, you kept going. You didn't get in the first time, but you kept going. Yeah. And then they don't quit. Yeah. And that's why we do this, and that's why we're going to continue to do it. But you think about everything you've done. Do you have like in mind, let's say like a legacy that you would like to leave, right? And then before you answer that, through this entire journey, did you have a mentor, someone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is something I'm glad you brought up, that I mentors are invaluable. You have to have someone that's been there before, that can give you their perspective, show you the ropes, let you know what the steps are to take, so that you're always anticipating. You're always trying to go to the next level. And when you get to a roadblock or you get to some other issue, you need someone that you can confide in to say, hey, this is what's going on. I need help, and so I open myself up as a mentor to anybody that would like that, and I definitely benefited from mentors as well, because really, I mean, you just can't do it alone.
Yeah.
No matter who you are, you just can't do it alone.
That's right.
And one of the things I like to tell people is that, you just gotta give yourself grace. You gotta be able to forgive yourself, be able to, if you drop the pass on the end zone, like the Ravens, tight end did, you gotta have the amnesia to get back up and go to the next play.
Yeah.
And going back to your question, the legacy I want to leave for people is to know that nobody's perfect. But if you give yourself grace, you can and will make that impact and become that person that you want to be, and change the world. One person at a time.
One patient at a time.
Patient at a time.
So I'm gonna take it here before we finish up. So, because legacy, I have this weird relationship about the word legacy. Like I hear people say it all the time about, living an impact, right? And then for me, I don't even know what that means, right? I know that some of the things that I've been through were difficult. Yeah. So if I share some of the most difficult things, somebody that's probably on the verge of going through that, right, can hear or see it and say, oh, he went through that, let me pivot and try something else. But an impact would be, let's say, someone, for you at least, that's thinking about going to medical school, and because they see what you're doing, now they say, okay, I'm going to do this. Because I see what Dr. Nwannunu is doing. Is that what I'm getting? When it comes
not necessarily. It's more so, it isn't really from leading other people into medical school type of impact, but more so like understanding that, one, we've been placed here, and we're here for a short time, but during that time we can make a difference, and that impact is making a difference, whether it's helping somebody want to go to med school, whether it's showing a young kid you can be a doctor, whether it's helping somebody that's literally been wheelchair bound or using crutches for the last 10 years walk upright without anything and go ahead and, hold their grandbaby in their arms or their child in their arms. It's just knowing that you can make a difference.
Yeah.
I think that's more so what impact is, for me at least, and it's not one specific thing, but it's just a conglomerate of things, right? It's a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, you put forth the effort, you put forth the sacrifice, you made it to this stage, and now you are impacting someone in a positive way.
Yeah.
And not just taking away from them, you know? I mean, like, 'cause there's all kind of jobs just go through, is, you know, 9 to 5, clock in, clock out, go home. It's really nothing. But like, what did you do?
Do you see that with some other surgeons? It just becomes like a clock in, clock out thing for them?
Some people get jaded.
Okay.
You know, they do. Because there are, you know, there's bad sides of surgery. You know, we'll just talk about it, right?
Yeah.
There's complications that happen.
Yeah.
You know, patients do die.
Yeah.
You know, people get injured. You know, people lose the ability of their limbs. You know, spine surgeons paralyze people, right? Orthopedic surgeons hit an artery and have to amputate because their patient's bleeding out. You know, you have to go and tell somebody, you know, who trusted you to come in and do surgery. You go in and tell their family, hey, a complication happened and I amputated your loved one's leg to save their life, you know? And these things can stick with you.
Yeah.
You know, because you tried your best to make someone better. Something happened inadvertently.
Yeah.
And then you oftentimes get sued. You oftentimes have complaints to go to the medical board. You oftentimes get all this other stuff that you're like, where is this coming from? All I did was try to help somebody, you know? So there are people that get jaded, you know? And I mean, I think every surgeon can attest at some point in your career, you're gonna get sued.
That's 100, yeah.
100% of us. You know, that's why our malpractice is so crazy, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna be unhappy about their scar, about their stiffness, about something else, you know?
Yeah.
And if you, and which I do, I take a lot of that to heart, because it's like, you know how much you put forth and sacrificed and missed friends, you know, things, and your baby's birthdays and all this other stuff because you took care of this person, and then they're returning that favor that inadvertently happened with, I'm gonna go ahead and sue you. You know, it can take a toll on you.
Yeah.
So I've seen some doctors, you know, they kind of, you know, they get jaded, you know. I mean, but you know, my perspective of it is, you know, for the 1 or 2 people that may not do as well, I mean, there's 98 that are.
That's right.
And that's who I'm going to get up for.
Yeah.
You know, so that's my perspective. But yeah, you know.
Man, you navigate that so well, like with just handling, because I'm sure you've been through some tough things, but like you do it with so much grace, right? And then I always think like your heart, you're different. Like, you know what I mean? Like, cause the thing I'm like, cause I see people, even like surgeons, man, they crack.
Yeah.
Like something like that happens, it's like, but you talked about amnesia, and then you just keep moving. That's special, man. You know what I mean? It's different. You know, and that's to me, I really strive to be that way in life. It's just I don't hold on to nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody.
There you go.
But the thing is, we can't control the perception of other people. So they think that you're holding on to something, but you're really not. You're moving on to the next thing, and then sometimes people will project that onto you. And just interesting. But yeah, like just like any other field, there's always gonna be physicians that just kind of, it becomes about the money. It becomes about the money. I see that a lot. And to me, I have a different understanding of money. I have an abundant
mindset.
So the thing is, money's infinite. I'm never gonna run out.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? So it's not a driving force for me. I really love peace, and I think you have a lot of peace because it just speaks to your practice. It speaks to who you are. It speaks to how I see you interact with people socially. Bro, you don't know people who watch you. Like, you're consistent. You see what I'm saying? And some people is just like, I'm a doctor now, so I have to behave this way. People don't realize, I know Dr. Nwannunu, I call you Brian, because I know you, but you're literally the same all the time.
Never change.
You know what I'm saying? But it's rare to see that. But I want to commend that, bro. You know, just keep being you, keep doing what you're doing. I really was looking forward to this, so I appreciate you for coming on and doing this, and really just sharing some insights with people that may be thinking about doing this. Medicine was on my path at one point in my life. Just ended up not being so I guess I quit. You can call it that. That's fine. I don't have a problem saying that. I quit, derailed, went a different path. I tell myself maybe it wasn't for me. But now, if I say I want to go to medical school today, I have a different mentality. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it done. You know what I mean? But
One of my classmates was 44 years old when he started medical school.
Are you trying to convince me? Go ahead.
You know, there's never too late.
Yeah, that's true.
One of my best friends right now that graduated in my class, you know, he's in his 40s. You know, if he's white, you know, but he's living the life he wanted. He was in pharmaceutical sales before. He was at Pfizer. He was doing all this. He got all the engineering degrees, all the other stuff.
Yeah.
He said, no, I want to be a doctor.
But that's not what he wanted the whole time. Yeah.
So, you know, there's never a too late. And at the same time, you know, if it's not for you, it's not for you. It's not for you. Because there are a lot of moments where it's just like, it's tough, you know, and you got to be able to know, like, this is the turd of our career. But again, all the other good stuff is why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And some of these, you know, unfortunate sides of things, you know, you just got to go through it.
Yeah. And then that's a different mentality though, man. Because the thing is, as you're going through that journey and you're overcoming all the stuff, you know, if somebody goes through what I just went through, they deserve to be here. Oh, yeah. Right? And then that's a different level, because I see people drop like flies. They pick something, they do it for a little bit, and it gets tough. Yeah. And it's changed. That's what I did. You know what I mean?
I mean, you know, but again, everything is just not for everybody. Yeah. You know, I mean, and if you realize that sooner than later, then it's better for you. You can pivot, you know, when you need to. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just knowing that, you know, like you said, other surgeons, other physicians in general, they have a common respect for one another, no matter who they are, right? You know, I mean, we all know that, you know, we live in a world where some people see white, some people see black, right? And all this other stuff. There's racism, there's a lot of that. Yeah. But, you know, in the field of orthopedics, I walk in, an older white gentleman walks in, there is a mutual respect always.
Really? So you don't go through any type of discrimination?
Oh, no, 100% I go through discrimination. And I mean, I could give you a whole segment on, you know, discrimination I went in Fort Worth. Well, one, you know, in Fort Worth, you know, Fort Worth, Texas. This is, you know, I'm leaving DC from med school and coming to Fort Worth. I mean, you know, you don't get called a doctor. You know? They call you a transport. They call you, oh, you must be like a tech, you know, like, even though you clearly have a badge that says physician, you're just a black guy that walks in, you're not even a doctor, right? You don't get the respect. The patients will come in and say, oh, I'm not having a black doctor. You know, like the nurses will say, oh, I'm not going to listen to you. Like, this is from all aspects, right? You know? Really? And it can piss you off, right? Yeah. But again, I always have known who I am. You know, I'm kind of like, you know, it's fine. You know, you can think what you think, but I know who I am. So at the end of the day, whether you think I'm a tech or think I'm transporter or think I'm the cafeteria guy, I know I'm a doctor. You know, and on top of that, I'm the surgeon here. Yeah. You know, like, you're going to go to sleep and I'm going to operate. Yeah. So it doesn't really matter what you think, you know, and you have to have that resilience. But I mean, it gets bad when it's coming from your own department.
There we go. You know, how you navigate that.
That definitely happened and happens, you know, and I would even go to say, you know, there's literature that shows right now in orthopedic surgery and neurosurgery, the residents that get fired, and being fired from residency is very rare, but the residents get fired are overwhelmingly minority. Okay. And on top of that, right, how many percentage of orthopedic surgeons are black? It's like 4 to 6 or something like that. So there's only 4% of them are black, but let's just say, and I don't know the numbers, don't quote me guys, let's just say 50 people got fired in the last 2 years, right? Yeah. Let's just say 4% of them are black, 50 people got fired, 25 of those 50 people are going to be black.
What?
So how are 50% of them or more getting fired, but only 4% of this whole career is black? Yeah. So that happens, you know, and it happens with women as well. Yeah. You know, specifically in neurosurgery and orthopedic surgery. So that discrimination is there. Yeah. It's there, and you just got to be tough, and you just got to know, you know, like, I mean, I'm not here to make friends.
Yeah.
I'm here to do what I was designed to do. I mean, this is my calling.
Yeah.
You know, and of course I still had mentors, and I had a, you know, really good, you know, senior, older resident. That's my boy, you know, that I confided in, could talk to, could vent to. So I had somebody that helped me get through it, you know.
Yeah.
But when you're alone and you're on the island, it's tough. You know, you gotta, and it's not for everybody.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's like I always think about that because I'm sure that still exists today. You know what I mean? Just being able to navigate that on its own is just a whole another ball game, if you ask me. But you know, for me, I don't know I don't know how you handle discrimination, but I've chosen to not really focus on anything that has to do with race, and I just kind of make it a human being thing, right? If someone says, what if they say like, I don't want you to operate on me because you're black? Well, that's taking it a little bit too far. But sometimes it's subtle.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or it tries to be subtle. But I just take it as that's that person expressing because they come with a specific set of conditions, how they grew up, where they were raised, and things of that nature. So I always try to like drill it down to the individual and just say that's the experience I'm having with that person, right? But what you just went through, the data, the numbers, is crazy to even think about. If there's only 4 to 6%, right, minorities, if 50 people, that's crazy.
It's crazy. It's disproportionate. So that's what they call it.
And what's the metric that's utilized? Like, let's say if you're gonna fire an orthopedic surgeon or residents, like what?
Typically, they base it off of the subjectively, the surgeon is not progressing like his peers, or is making too many mistakes, or has some big egregious error that happens, right? Like has a complication during surgery. Now the problem is everybody has complications during surgery.
Yeah.
Especially during training.
That's right.
You know, I mean, myself included, right?
Yeah.
That's a part of training. But during that training, you're supposed to be given the ability to remediate, to show that you've learned from it. And there just are times, and I've talked to a lot of them, you know, personally, where they did not get that opportunity. They got zero grace. Something happened, boom, you're not fit. We're starting grounds to get you fired. You know, versus their co-resident who may have done it 3 or 4 times, but keeps just getting a little slap on the wrist and just keeps letting them go through. And it happens, you know, and it's unfortunate, and I feel for all of y'all. Just know I went through it as well, but I just, you know, just stay resilient. Yeah. You know, I mean, they put you on the probations and they remediate and they make you do all this and that and the third, but it's like you just keep going. You just keep believing in yourself. And that's where you really, you got to be more mentally strong than you ever thought you needed to be. Yeah. Because no one can really relate to you. You can't talk to your family about that, right? You can't talk to your significant other about that. You can't talk to your best friends about that because it's like no one's been through it and understands it besides someone that's gone through it. And most people that are going through it stay silent because it's also embarrassing. Like, oh, I'm a doctor or I'm a surgeon and I'm in residency and I'm being told that I'm not good enough. You know, like who do you go and tell that to? Yeah. And then maybe they don't want to bring it up. They might think it might get them in trouble or something. It might get them in trouble. Not knowing like you are good enough. Yeah. You're just in a bad situation where you're being told that way. That's so crazy. And how do you differentiate with those little nuances? Like how do you know that you're in a bad environment? Man, I'll never forget, man. My chairman came up to me and said, I'm about to put you on probation. I said, no, you're not. Oh. I'm looking at him right now. No, you're not. I am not going on probation. Yes, sir. We could talk about it, whatever you need to. We can go figure it out, but I'm not. Yeah. And I went down to my office of medical education and I got them involved. Like, look what he's trying to do right now. Yeah. Show me where I deserve this. Oops, everything's reversed. I told him straight up, no, you're not. Yeah. I stand up for myself, you know, and everyone can't. That's the thing. But like, if you put us in the jungle, I'm like, no, you're not. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We're in the jungle now. Like you playing with me. Yeah. You're not gonna play with me. No, I looked him dead in his eyes. Like that right there. So like everybody doesn't have that. Everyone doesn't, you know. It's just like, how did you develop that? Because I agree with that 1,000%, and that's what it takes. Yeah, you know?
because you got to know you know yourself.
You got to know yourself.
Nobody can tell you about you. You know what you're doing, and you got to be able to speak up in those moments. And I'm telling you, for me to get to where I am today, it took that, what you just described. In those moments when people try to dictate to you, this is how you should be, this is what you did, you show them that you're paying attention too.
Exactly. Like, you know, one, you got to be informed, right? You got to know what you know. You know, so you got to do the work, right?
Yep.
You got to know, you know, what are, you know, the options, right? You know, so you got to be well read. You got to figure out, you know, what the contingencies are, you know, and then two, you just have to, to get to that point. You've hit so many milestones, you know, like, I mean, I literally was valedictorian of my class, right? I'm the honors, you know, multiple honor societies in college. I'm, you know, what we call Alpha Omega Alpha, which is the top medical honor society in medical school, right? I've matched into orthopedics, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, like, I love that you would tell me that, you know, I love the, you know, positive reviews, but I don't need you to, because I know I'm good. And I think, you know, if people have had issues with accepting that they are good, then they're the ones that, you know, will fold. So you just got to go back to your mindset. It's not really an arrogance, you know, because I try not to be, but it's like a confidence.
You don't ever have to try not to be arrogant, bro. Be yourself. So the thing is, you walk into a room, your light's gonna shine. Yeah. If a man can't, then look away.
Yeah,
don't dim your light for nobody. Listen, you know, we'll definitely align on that, because that's what I see. Because people will want, they intentionally come and poke you so you can dim your light, thinking like their light's gonna shine. It'll never. You can't dim. Listen, I know I'm great. Anything I touch is greatness. And that's like, I wish people can capture that, because the fact that moment, and it comes with the, like you said, you've put in the work, the preparation, studying, understanding the different nuances is why you're able to go and say, that's not right.
No.
But you know, that's the part some people don't even, people try to take the shortcuts. And you see, you did the work, which is why you were prepared to stand up in that moment. You went through the data, you looked at the number, you read, so you were prepared. So when he tried to tell you, I'm gonna put you on probation because of this, you said, absolutely not, because I know blum, 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 blum. And you can prove it, and then you keep pushing.
You know? And then of course, you know, you go and get the people that, you know, can support you as well. You know, and which is important. But you gotta start with yourself.
Yeah, that's big. That's huge, because it always all starts with you and ends with you. And I know everyone's not gonna acquire the skill of just looking past that fear, bro. Like, how did you overcome? Because fear is huge.
Fear is huge. You know, I mean, I don't know. I think I've always been a fighter. You know, I mean, you know, and I know we didn't mention it, but you know, my baby brother passed away when I was very young. Oh, wow. So he was 8, and I was 10, and then he turned 9 a couple of days after his passing. So and just to see how, you know, I mean, it breaks your mother, right? You know, breaks your mother and your father, but to see how resilient they were. You know, like, we learned, like, okay, we could get through things. You know? Yeah. And then, you know, we're Nigerian, we're growing up, you know, our name is funny, blah, 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 blah. Like, you're getting ridiculed. So we fighting every day at school, you know? And so everywhere you go, you're just like, you learn to fight. You know, you learn to just fight. So it was just that fight now, no longer with fists, because I need my hands tonight. But it's still with my energy, you know, my emotions and my knowledge. Like, I'm never going to just lay down.
And you have that, listen, your emotional maturity is out of this world. That's huge, because I think when we respond to situations, like, it's okay to feel all the feelings inside, but it's like when you deliver the message, you got to keep all that in check.
You have to.
Right? And I see across the board, I see different iterations. It's so crazy you said that. I don't see a lot of females orthopedic surgeons. I see maybe one come through. The practice.
You know, it's you know, luckily I went through a program called In Dimensions. It's specifically for getting minorities and females into orthopedics. So because of that, I have a lot of female orthopedic surgeons that are in my network. Okay. But in general, you're right. It's not, it's very, very, very rare. I mean, there's none in my hospital, you know? Yeah. And so it's because, one, they, you know, had to have that mentality, and they also go through even things I don't have to go through, sexual harassment, things like that. Some of these, I've heard horror stories.
Yeah.
You know, horror stories, right?
Yeah.
So now you got on top of that, you know, the discrimination of being a minority, and you now got somebody that's probably a predator.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's tough for women in those fields. You know? And then some people just don't want them there.
That's so
like, oh, she's great, she has everything, but I'm just not going to match her, rank her to match. There's programs like that, you know?
Sometimes if you get into people's minds, I wonder what they're thinking. It's just like how decisions are made. To me, like, everything's flawed. To me, if you're a human being, everything's flawed. So like I can pinpoint a flaw in anything, but that's I never really paid attention to it until you highlighted it earlier, and then I thought about like what I see every day, and I was like, I don't see a lot of women coming in here, and it's so interesting. But no, like I appreciate this conversation, bro, more than you know. But I want you to like tell the people where they can find you if they're looking for you, you know.
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Dr. Brian, Dr.Brian. You can find me on TikTok, Dr.Brian Ortho, because Dr. Brian was gone.
Yeah.
And then I have my website as well coming. I have a couple different domains, but BrianNwannunumD.com. So.
Nice. You have a lot of good content. Cause I'm there. Sometimes I be swiping TikTok. Yeah. Got a lot of good stuff. But then I appreciate the conversation, man. It's good to always connect with someone that's doing something, at least from my lens, at a high level. Really making an impact, right? And I've always been amazed about, like, every time we see each other, there's nothing but respect and love. And that level of consistency, I don't see a lot of in the world that we live in today. So I've had to shed a lot of people in my life, but you're someone that every single moment, it's like your light shines. You have a smile on your face, you treat people well. That's my perspective, right? So I knew I wanted to have you on, and thank you for taking the time to jump on, man.
Of course.
Absolutely, my man. Always a pleasure to see you, brother. Yes, sir.